Marcus Block, Ambition. Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, I appreciate it, Ernie. Thanks for having me.
You know, what a phenomenal facility here. I can't believe how much technology you have here. It's awesome. And the name, Ambition, where'd that come from?
Kind of a funny story. Back in the day when I was still in college and trying to figure out if the personal training, working with athletes, really made sense to me. I think I was studying for one of my anatomy tests, and I had my list of songs, my playlist, and the song Ambition by Meek Mill came on, and it kind of spoke to me. The lyrics, driven by ambition, pursuing your dreams. At the same time, I was also thinking of some other generic names like Lift with Marcus Block or Block Fitness. Super generic, but at the same time, I realized my initials, Marcus Block, is in the word ambition. Just keep it simple, and that's where it came from.
Yeah, it really resonates, and I love the logo, man. It pops out.
Yeah.
MB, man. So, you know what? I've heard about you. I found out about you through my nephew, Sawyer Bray, who, I saw what you did with him, the speed, the quickness, the agility, how he improved in his career, and now he's heading off to Laverne to be the quarterback there.
So awesome.
I just was really impressed, and I said, I got to interview this guy. What is he doing? And I see that you're all over the place. You were just out in Florida recently at IMG. What was going on there?
So over there, this is my second time actually, but basically they gather, it's with the PLL, so the Professional Lacrosse League. They gather the top 50 high school lacrosse players in America in one place, and there they work on their skills, they test their speed. With us, we come out there to kind of measure their athletic ability. How high do these guys jump? Gather data on that. The professional lacrosse guys, kind of see how their skills are. But these guys are pretty much set to go play pro. So that's what that type of event was.
So it's like a combine, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of combines, have you worked with athletes like the NFL or NBA or different combines for professional sports?
Absolutely. NBA, not yet, but with the NFL, we have, I think, probably the biggest name I could throw out there is Joe Burrow, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you see an athlete like that, like a Joe Burrow, what was it like? I mean, the level of intensity, or what is it like for an athlete like that at level preparing for a combine?
So I would say, these guys, they're ready to work. They're not there to waste any time. Not there that have all the fun. Meeting this guy, I knew he was serious business.
Everything's on the line, right? You got to produce at the combine. So
yeah. He was kind of clinched. He was clinched in, but you could tell he was ready to work.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I don't think he ran his 40-yard dash, actually at the combine. But Les Spellman at the time, one of my good mentors, put me one-on-one with him. We worked on a couple mechanics, touched up, and I could tell he would get a little frustrated on certain type of drills because he wanted to get it right.
They wanted to be locked in and dialed in for that.
He wanted to perfect it. He was like a perfectionist. So I think that type of athlete is what really kind of separates, from the others for sure. Because some of the other guys were just there to have a good time, laughing, not Joe Burrow. So, but I've met other great athletes like that too.
That's an awesome experience, really. So take me back to your origins, and where'd you grow up?
Born and raised here in Chula Vista, San Diego. So I went to locally. I went to a local high school, East Lake. Well, East Lake for my first 2.5 years, and then I finished off at Bonita Vista.
So is that where you started your athletic career? Did you play any youth sports, or how did you get into sports and fitness and all that?
I did play youth sports, so I played an assortment. Play a lot of baseball, rec baseball, rec basketball. But what I really loved was football. That was my main thing. My mom and dad really tried to push me away from that though. They just didn't want me to get hurt, but I continued to pursue it in high school. So I did that and lacrosse actually in high school.
So what would you say your biggest memories of high school playing football were at maybe East Lake or where you played? what were the biggest things that you take away from those areas? What was the fun times you had?
I would say that we had some really good times when I was playing on the JV team for East Lake. So Coach Mack, Coach McFadden was there. I know he's a really big name. One time he came because he was with the varsity team, but he came down, was coaching us. I guess somebody kind of got on his nerves, but we just we did something called it's called the Tunnel of Love.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Sawyer and a couple of kids know what I'm talking about, but you guys just for the whole hour we lined up kind of like in a pyramid. Like we made like a pyramid kind of pose, and you would just have to bear crawl, like low crawl, everybody until like all 55, 60 of us like got through the whole thing, and then we had to do it again. So that was like probably one of the most funnest times. But besides, our usual gassers and stuff like those were really memorable.
What was training like back then too? Was it compared to today? What are you doing? What kind of weight training did you guys do?
I gotta say, back in the day, I feel like a lot of the high school teams are do something very similar, but it's all about pushing weight, heavy weight. Just conditioning, like really big on the conditioning, and it's crazy how things have kind of slowly started to change.
Science has really got into it more, wouldn't you say? A lot more.
Science has definitely played a big part in it. From what I know now, like I wish I knew that back in the day. But it's not all about how far you're pushing these athletes nowadays. You can actually decrease the workload and give them even better results.
Wow! So you're not pushing the athletes so hard and so intense for so long. So you played in football and you did lacrosse as well.
Yeah.
And then after high school, U.S. Marines, right?
Yeah. I went to the Marine Corps right after high school.
Well, I mean, that was I'm sure a life adjustment. What was it like? Going right into boot camp?
It was definitely a culture shock for me. Was not used to being yelled in the face like that, rolling in the dirt, and just like everything was on by the book. They were so strict on us, like super strict on us. But that was just boot camp. Like that's only boot camp. But once you get past that, then they kind of put you in more situations where it's like they simulate it if it was a war, for example, because as a Marine, if you go to war, you got to be able to work under stress. So that was like the big key thing with those.
That takes me to another question I have. In the Marines, the kit you're carrying, it could weigh as much as how much?
It's supposed to be 50 pounds, but sometimes they just keep packing stuff and stuff is like in there. It could go up to 100 pounds on your back, man.
So they're out there rucking basically hundreds of pounds, and do you see a lot of guys have a lot of injuries like tendonitis or things that happen?
100%. I'm a victim of it. I've had a ton of chronic tendonitis in both my knees. Yeah. Tore my rotator cuff. In there, I made it a little bit worse actually once I got out, but I've seen guys a lot worse though. And they just sometimes there's this type of mindset in the Marine Corps where you just got to tough it out. And they really jam that into our minds. Where
did you have a big part in fitness training in the Marines? Is that where you got your interest in becoming like a trainer, or how that?
I did. So coming out of high school, it's crazy. I played football. I only weighed like 130 pounds. Wow. Going into the military, after boot camp and after the combat training, and then going with my unit. I met a couple guys these guys were big. They were huge. They kind of looked like, when you go into the Marines, correct me if I'm wrong, most people probably think of like John Cena, the Marine, right? Like, that's not everybody. That's not everybody. But these guys really gave me that type of impression. I was like, that's what I want to look like. That looks like John Cena. And I asked them, I was like, what do you guys do? Like what are you doing differently? I would like to kind of look like you. So they allowed me to work out with them. They put me on a strict routine. Like my diet was more strict. It all started with the diet, honestly. Eat more protein, bump of the carbs. I'm still not getting anywhere. Eat more. You got to eat the right foods. And so, and then being on a strict, consistent plan. And from there I gained almost 25 pounds.
Wow, so that was kind of the origin where you started to really feel, hey, I like this training, the fitness part of the business, and hey, this is the origin to kind of hey, maybe I want to be a trainer?
Yeah.
Did you actually train guys in the Marines as well?
I did. So after that kind of phased out, it really made me fall in love with fitness, and a couple guys eventually started asking me in my unit, can you give me some advice? Because I need to lose some weight. I got a PFT coming up. Yep. My sergeants, my unit's gonna start getting on me. And so I assisted them, and I even helped them drop some weight or gain muscle, whatever the plan was. And eventually, once I got promoted to corporal, they made me in charge of the PTs for my section of Marines, which was 15 of them.
How often do you have to test out to make sure you're maintaining that level of fitness?
Usually it's about every 3 to 4 months. So
Okay, so you got to be continually maintained. You can't just
Yeah.
let it slide. Okay.
but there's some loopholes, for some of these guys that kind of slip through. So
So what in your Marine experience, what would you say some of the key things that you take away that you apply to even today in your business and your life that you learned in the Marines?
I would say the discipline. They taught me how to be very disciplined. And when I was going in there, I was not really big on speaking in front of people. I joined it's kind of funny. I didn't go in as an infantry guy or anything. It was an intel. So my job was to kind of be like a news reporter. I would go find reports, present them to the commander, speak in front of 20 different types of captains, majors, lieutenant colonels. It was nerve-wracking. So, but I had to get better at speaking.
So you had to push yourself out of the comfort zone, basically.
Yeah.
It's something you weren't used to.
Oh yeah, and it taught me how to be a leader. I think it's the big thing. So that's why I'm really big on working with a lot of kids, and then kind of being a motivator to pursue what they want to do.
Totally. So in your life, have gone through high school, then the Marines, and were there people or individuals that really stood out to you that were mentors that you feel really helped you out in your whole journey so far at that point?
100%. As I got out of the military, I met a gentleman because I still want to pursue sports. Like, it's always been in the back of my mind. So coming back home, I decided to go play at Southwestern College. But I knew I had to I wasn't in football shape anymore.
So you were coming back from the Marines, trying to get back onto football then.
Yeah. So, but I was pretty solid. I was pretty jacked at the time. But I wasn't mobile. I wasn't fast. I was like, okay, I gotta find somebody who can help me. So I looked on social media, and then a gentleman named Les Spellman, popped up. Was one of the first top guys around in the area, down the street. So I was like, oh, I'll just hit this guy up. So met him, and this guy got me to one of the best shape of my life. Not only did I get stronger, did I stay pretty lean, but he got me faster. I went from a 5'1" to a 4'8" on my 40-yard dash.
That's impressive.
My vertical hit, I started at a low 20. It was pretty laughable, but he got me over 30 inches. And I mean, the list just goes on. And then I was working out with other guys prepping up for the NFL Combine. I mean, I wasn't, but obviously,
So you're around the people that are getting that level.
Yeah, I was around him, but just that environment, I think, really pushed me on a whole different level. And I was super thankful. And even when I stopped playing football, I wanted to kind of continue. I was like, whoa. I was like, what is this all about? I wanted to kind of get into it more. And so he just said,
So is that where you kind of got your start in the fitness training through him? Then basically, was that yeah.
No, actually, no. At the same time that I was going to college and pursuing football, I always wanted to do the personal training because the Marines, it kind of motivated me. I actually started going to 24-hour fitness. That was probably a big mistake right there. And so when I went to 24-hour fitness, I don't know, the people they gave me were not motivated to train. That's also a big thing when you own your own business and your personal training business. You can kind of choose the type of people you want to work with. That's why I love working with athletes, because they're motivated to play a D1, go pro, and that's what makes me want to be even there. 24-hour fitness, they were just feeding me clients that just
versus feeding on the energy of an athlete or somebody. Yeah.
Or I guess they got probably fooled into buying like a package or something. Okay. So that's what I was working with. So
So was it then after that point you were saying to yourself, I want to start my own business, and you kind of said, I had that fire. I see you trained over 1,000 people now. You're training professional athletes, Division I, Division II, III, kids preparing, high school, even people who are older, right? I mean, do you think somebody my age I can get faster too?
Of course, 100%. Everybody can get faster.
Yeah, even in your 50s, you can always get improving then, huh?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it feels like the older you get, the slower you get. But when you start the business and you're working with athletes, let's say I'm an athlete coming in and I'm ready to start with you. What is a typical process you'd go through to assess what I'm doing or where I'm at?
So the first thing what we would do is obviously we would sit down and talk about what are your goals, what type of sport you play. Based on that, we would go through a mobility test. I would try to see how flexible your hips are. Are you able to move your arms back in certain different ways? Are you able to lift your leg, and like what type of also what type of injuries you've had like recently?
Okay.
Those are like the first key things that we would look. After that, we go do our general dynamic warm up, and then from there, I would kind of we would assess your speed with one of our. We have GPS units. So cool thing about these GPS units, a lot of the pro soccer players primarily use them, but NFL, other sports are using them too as we speak.
Yeah.
Tells you how fast you move, your acceleration, how well you push off, how much distance you can cover in a certain amount of steps. So a couple runs on that, we would be able to see, okay, is he accelerating? Is he powerful in the steps? Or does he have a really good start? Doesn't stop there though. After that initial assessment, where we would get you something on something called the 1080. So a 1080, it's like an electronic sled. A lot of the Olympic athletes are using them right now. You can throw some names out like Gabby Thomas. She's probably one of the biggest ones. You're able to put as much percentage in correspondence to your body weight onto the sled. So let's see how powerful you are. We'll make you go with a heavy sled. Let's see how well you finish. We'll put on with a lighter sled. Doesn't just end there as well. We get you guys on something called a force plate. NBA is pretty big on this. Even the MLB.
So on the force plate,
Yeah.
is that where you could tell if I'm pushing off of one leg or more than the other? You can find imbalances in an athlete. A lot of these tests, you can actually find out maybe people are favoring a leg or an arm or something that's weaker than the others.
Yeah, that's actually one way how we kind of help with Sawyer, your nephew too, because I noticed he had like a really big imbalance with the legs. So that's the great thing about the force plate. It can tell you how high you jump, how well you decelerate, how springy you are, but it's also good for rehab as well if you're trying to rehab somebody back.
Yeah, I think a lot of times athletes out there, you may be good in high school. That's great. Your first team all-league, MVP, whatever. When you get to the next level, you start to get to the elite level, the difference between the athletes shrinks because everybody, when you get to a college, has been, I'm a top performer. So trying to find that edge, things can make a huge difference, right? Like just the little things, like little mechanics or things that you can actually diagnose. So do you have any stories of people that, you gave Sawyer as an example, other people that they didn't realize they were favoring some part of their body and then you were able to help correct that? Like, what are some examples?
Absolutely. So there was one instance where we had a gentleman, great athlete. We didn't have the force plates at the time, but I could just tell the way he moved. He moved like he needed work on like some unilateral work, mobility. We sent him off. He's playing out in Florida right now for a Division II school. It's not coming to me, but he played at Southwestern College. His name was Elijah. Great, amazing DB. Like he was probably their top DB. But when he came over, you look at him, it's like, oh, this guy's fast. But then the moment you see his move, I was like, oh my gosh, like he needs some work. He's like slow. He's like he looks so wobbly when he runs. So we put him on a 2-month program. We did a lot of single leg exercises, Bulgarians, RDLs, single leg RDLs. Worked on his mechanics, and we got this kid going from 19, almost 20, running 22 miles per hour. It made one of the biggest increases in speed that I have ever seen.
Wow.
And that's one of the things out in Florida that they were noticing. They were like, this guy can move. Like this DB can move. Like who was he working with? So I mean, it's definitely kind of spoke.
That's great because just those little mechanics and things that you don't really think about can make a huge difference. It's really crazy. I mean, so let me ask you this: for an athlete out there that is, let's say they're in high school right now, what are some of the things that you think that they should be focused on? Some tips that they should be to improve themselves to prepare for the next level at even a young age? What are some of the things that they can be working on?
Gotcha. So I would say is kind of looking at the bigger picture. So am I flexible? What am I doing for nutrition? I mean, that's probably the biggest thing because a lot of these athletes I know, they're great, they're fit, they're fast, but their nutrition can hold them back in the long run. They can probably go even further. How's my strength? Like, where's my strength at? Like, compared to some of the athletes, compared to some of like the top athletes, am am I really good in skills?
Yeah.
Am I really good in my athletic ability? Which one can I kind of focus a little bit more on itself?
Going back to the diet part of it, I think
Yeah.
you just hit on that was really important. Is I think a lot of kids at young ages, they eat a lot of junk food. They don't realize that those can make a huge difference. And I mean, obviously at the elite levels, a lot of them are more focused on that, aren't they?
Yeah.
The whole approach to recovery. When you're using data, I see that you're very data driven in everything that you do here. How do you balance the difference between being data focused and data driven versus going with feel? Or an athlete might say, hey, I feel great today. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go hard again. But in reality, maybe the data doesn't tell them that they should. They should maybe take time off. How do you balance using data versus going with feel a lot of times when it comes to working out and making the decision, what day I'm going to have a hard day today or a rest day, and when to recover? What are some of the things you think on that? What's your thoughts?
So that's actually a great question, Ernie. I definitely believe like feeling plays a big role. Like no questions asked. And data, sometimes there's margin of error. Like let's be honest. Not everything's going to be perfect with like all these systems. There's tend to be errors in some of it. But when I have my guys on a strict plan, like for example, I have a college pro group. We train 4 days out of the week. We have 2 days of speed. Some optional. Sometimes we go 1. If they feel good and they want to do, like I want to train on Wednesday too, because we train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or I want to do something on Saturday, by all means, you can do it, but don't overload yourself, because the way I've been doing it for the last couple of years is, in the past, when athletes do a little bit more, it becomes overtraining.
Okay.
So that's where there's a higher risk of injury.
You push yourself up to the point, but you don't want to go beyond that point. And I think that kind of takes me to something that you're using, that universal speed rating. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
That was something that's very interesting. I saw a gentleman named Tony Holler online. He was talking about that, and I know you were involved in it. And Tony Holler actually is a funny story. And then I saw his program called Feed the Cats, which is a program that I actually had my son, who does track, do that, where it's all about, explosive speed work, not doing long distance. It's about focusing on many of the things that you're doing and you do as well. And I see that he's involved in universal speed rating, and Les Spell, he's involved in it too. Yeah. Tell me about that. That's where you can actually show the miles per hour somebody's running. You can do all that. How does that whole thing work, and how do you implement that into the program?
Yeah, so the universal speed rating, awesome system. Just came out about 3 years ago. Great minds like Les Spellman, Tony Holler, couple of other great speed analysis coaches developed the system. They decided to create that because it's really to collecting all that data. Sometimes we've been using Google Sheets, and it's hard to put it but what if they thought, what if we could put it in one website, one web app, where everybody can look at that, compare themselves to what are the top guys getting, what is this?
You can almost be sort of competitive in a way, right?
100%.
So you can say, hey, across the country, I can say, hey, how do I rank against somebody else, and how am I improving individually? So it kind of gives, I think, of sort of a way to inspire you to kind of compete and at the same time improve yourself. But
100%.
How do you use it in your program? Do you use it with the athletes, and they have their own rating they can check and everything?
Yeah. So when an athlete like first signs up, we explain to them, obviously what I told you before, like the 1080, like the force plates, like kind of assess their ability. But we also show them, like to the parents or the athlete themselves, like we have a tracker. This is where we're going to be putting all this data. Like this jump, this speed that you ran today, it's going to come here, and I want you to be able to see the results. You guys were able to track it,
see your progression,
and also compare yourself to other athletes the same age as you. Not only in my community in San Diego, but maybe on Massachusetts or Florida, or wherever. So that's how we kind of break it down to them.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, this is really impressive. I say, as we get ready to wrap up, I have to say I'm very impressed with the way you implement the data, and then also all the different things I see all around here. I mean, even that eccentric workout solution you showed me, it's not just about throwing weights on your back, doing squats. I mean, the old school days, I mean, people are just like lifting weights. How much can I bench? How much can I squat? How much can I deadlift? And that's it. You're looking at, I can tell, the whole athlete as a whole. As we get ready to close up, What's your philosophy? And I know you have, like, you focus on some recovery stuff as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the recovery, the importance of recovery for an athlete, and how you implement that in here at your program.
So we have a great recovery program. I've been doing it for the last like 5 years. It started as stretching therapy, so that's something that I kind of picked up from Les as well. Can I tell you a funny story? How about that?
Definitely.
So at the time when he was like kind of getting the NFL combines starting up, he needed somebody to, like, there was like probably almost 15, 20 guys there. He couldn't stretch all of them. So he's like, I'm gonna need you and you. There was another intern at the time named Peyton, and we had to kind of like learn and then work and start stretching these guys out. They had me working on like 300-pound linemen, so sometimes I would get kicked off the table. But it taught me how to learn pretty well and how to be able to, no matter how big they are, how to put them in a position where I can allow to get the deeper stretch in, kind of open up their hips or work on their mobility a little bit better. But kind of going to that, when I started working with local high schools, I noticed that a lot of these kids like don't know how to stretch. They don't have a good recovery program, a good mobility program. That's why there's so much injury out there. So once I started to kind of promote the stretching business I had, then I started getting certified in the cupping, the scraping. Started to kind of educate myself a little bit on that, just to provide more value for the athletes. And so when they come see me, we're able to kind of work around those like types of injuries. That's why I help with Sawyer.
Right. And the thing is, do you think there's a lot like the hip flexibility, the mobility really is I think is an area that has been neglected a lot in sports. I mean, I don't even, when I was in the 80s and 90s, it was just like do the basic stretches, cold ballistic, just stretches, which is actually lengthening the muscle. And is there a whole plan you have behind it before the athlete starts the workout and then at the end that actually you're building into their programs here?
Mm-hmm. So if it's a prepping athlete, especially if they're about to go into like a workout, you want to go more focus on the dynamics. So moving stretches, like if you're gonna, like, let's say you're doing like knee hugs, going down for 20 yards, you're gonna pull, take a little jog. You want to kind of get the blood circulation going.
Okay.
When an athlete starts to finish up his workout, then that's when we focus on more static stretching.
Okay.
Yeah, the cool down method.
Got it. Yeah, like I said, this is an example of, this is great because this is for people out there. The world of athletics has changed where if you want to prep and be ready, you got to use the science, you got to use the feel, all this, but it's a combined process. It's not just go out there, lift heavy weights, go out there and do some basic stretches. And I love what you're doing here, and I really appreciate. Thanks for coming on today and talking about it. And I said this is a phenomenal facility. And you got a lot to offer. So, hey, if anybody wants to get a hold of you and work with you, what's the easiest way they can contact you and talk about maybe becoming a client?
So they can go on our website at ambitionbymb.com. They can also reach us on our Instagram page as well. Which I'll probably provide that to you. Or you
can put it at the bottom of the show notes and all that. Definitely.
Or you can also reach me at my phone number as well. So there's probably the top three right there.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, hey Marcus, thanks for coming on. It's great to hear the story, and like I said, awesome work you're doing, and I wish you great continued success.
I appreciate everything, Ernie. Thank you so much.
You got it.